And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker, Mr. Ray Rickman. He's the co-founder and executive director of Stages of Freedom, the award-winning nonprofit devoted to building bridges of understanding across the racial divide by celebrating Rhode Island African American history in its Black Museum and raising funds for swim empowerment to save lives by teaching African American youth how to swim. Ray is a former Rhode Island State Representative and Deputy Secretary of State, the highest office held by an African American in the state's history. He was the Senior Policy Advisor for Shape Up Rhode Island, the nation's largest statewide wellness program. Ray is also the recipient of the National Parks Service's Frederick Douglass Award for his 40 years as a civil rights activist and the 2018 Rhode Island Philanthropist of the Year Award. We are so grateful to have Mr. Rickman with us today. Let's give him a warm welcome.
I want to thank you for inviting me to speak. It is such an honor. There were years, 2017, when I gave 110 speeches. But lately, if I give 3, it's a really big deal, and I love outside gatherings. So when Victoria asked, I said, okay, and here I am. Now, I'm standing here on the 250th approach to the anniversary of this American Revolution, and soldiered by the 1st Black Regiment. That's the title, but it's also the fact. The 1st Black Regiment in American history. And the majority were slaves. Slaves. I want you to stop and think for a minute. One day you're over in South County doing farming, drudgery, awful, or you're cleaning up somebody's house in Newport. And then off to the fog of war. Now, the majority of them do not walk out of their house and say, I want to sign up. They're sent by the slave owner. And he doesn't send them because he loves the nation, bud. That's not why he sends them. The majority of them sent them to avoid military service. Will you stay with me on this? This is as disgusting as you can be as a human being, except I can think of more disgusting things, to send your enslaved person in your place because somebody might get killed. And you don't want it to be you. And you drug this person all the way. This is early enough. They may actually be the person drugged all the way from Africa in the bottom of a slave ship. And now off to Boston so that you don't have to go. I want you to stop and think about how disgusting that is and how much honor they deserve. Now, they go. George Washington doesn't want it. He's a racist. He owns 212 slaves. He's not a nice human being. Now, this is the new Ray Rickman. The old one would have left that last part out. But remember, in school, including Rhode Island, you barely learn that he was a slave owner of the worst order. This isn't Thomas Jefferson. See, you rate these men. E, George Washington. Jefferson, E+. That's the highest grade you can get from me if you're a slaver. So Washington has to cave because little Rhode Island cannot come up with the number of troops it's supposed to come up with. And Colonel Barnum comes up with the bright idea, and he's one of the better human beings, comes up with the bright idea that there are a lot of black slaves around in Rhode Island, we could get the slave owners, if we pay them, state paid them, Lieutenant Governor, paid them, and they kept half the money, and they're supposed to give the other half to the slaves. It's undocumented how many slaves got half that money, but I'm suspicious. And then off to war they go, and it's decided that the slave owner doesn't have to go if he sends a slave. And that's how they raise the troops. So I want you to think about this. For a very long time, I wasn't much into reparations. I thought, I'm a historian, but time has passed. We didn't get the 40 acres and a mule. 40 acres and a mule was big stuff then. It wouldn't be now. But lately, I've changed my mind. The city of Providence is doing reparations, $10 million, not much, and a formal apology. Lieutenant Governor, you shouldn't sit in the first row. I'm waiting for the state of Rhode Island to do the same, because it was complicit. I just gave you one example. I could give you 20. It's fixing it so rich white men don't have to die. And black men, native people, mulattoes do. The state did that. The state did that. We could come to Newport, getting the taxes to build the roads. I'd be here all day if I told you about all the racist acts committed in this state, mainly against black people. And I'd be here 2 days if I added Native Americans. It is disgusting, this history, and hidden from view. It's only in the last 20 years that Rhode Islanders are willing to talk about it. And when you get up to talk about any of the slave holders, the Browns and the like, and you're at certain societies, they say, will you be kind and not call them any names? And every single time I say, okay, and then I get up and I say, John Brown was one of the worst human beings that God ever put on this planet, and I don't speak for God, but I'm sure God saw it. And he wasn't very attractive if you've ever seen his photo. I'm in the mood today. This Holocaust activity against black people is disgusting. Now, how do we write it? There are 1,000 things to be done. Little one, the state changes its name. I talked Gordon Fox out of doing that the first time because I saw some polling. No, I did some polling. We went to Warwick and polled 100 people, and 78 said they would vote no. And I showed it to Gordon Fox, Speaker of the House. Don't let this go forward. We will be embarrassed. And it went forward. And we were embarrassed. The people of Rhode Island embarrassed themselves. Now, second time around, in the middle, we got it. Stripped it. That's one of 1,000 things we should do. An apology to the people of color, formal, from the state, is in order. Germany has done it, and then Germany gave reparations to Jews. The United States of America has given reparations to Japanese Americans. And I'm not going to quantify who suffered the most, because to be picked out and destroyed in the Jewish case, and to be incarcerated in the Japanese case, is sickening. For a nation to do that, and to do it to black people for 300 years, is as low as you can go. So they come forward, and with honor, starting in Boston. It is miraculous. At the end, George Washington says, surprisingly, they were fabulous. They did well. George Washington said that. The letter is in the state archives. You may go see it. 64 letters from George Washington. And that's one of them.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Rickman for that very, very inspiring speech. Mr. Rickman, thank you so much.
Next person I'm going to introduce is Lieutenant Governor. She's running for re-election. and she's here to make a presentation of a couple of citations. That's Lieutenant Governor Sabina Matos.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here, would like to present to the Newport County branch of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People on this occasion of the 244th anniversary of the Battle of Rhode Island. And on behalf of the state of Rhode Island, I wish to extend my sincerest gratitude for this invaluable work and commemorate this historic event to honor the sacrifices, the bravery of the 1st Rhode Island Regiment. And I would like Jimmy to come over, present it to you. So Jimmy, thank you for the work that you always do to commemorate for the work of the NAACP Newport branch, for everything that you've been doing. And I have a citation very special for Ray Rickman. I have been working with Ray in the community for many years, and he's always advocating for the right of those that have been forgotten or marginalized. I have done so many work with him that I can remember, especially around making sure that the students, the children of color, get access to swimming lessons, among many, many other things. So it's truly an honor for me to give this citation to you. Please. Thank you.